Listen, it's 7, but we're going to give a few minutes. There's some people that are doing the tour. We're just going to give a few more minutes to get back.
You want me to write that down?
She was in the first block.
What's that? Yes. Oh, yes. Hi. Yes. Thank you for the movie. Yes. You're welcome. We're waiting for
Yeah, I have them. Yeah, I just figured I would email us when it gets closer. Oh, yeah.
You're welcome. And then Joe, he said he's going to return well, not today.
Oh, okay.
So we're getting back in the
I was glad that you didn't
my daughter.
Oh, that was a good one. He was a good one.
Yeah.
I'm glad how that worked. I did talk to him.
Yes. Lots of letters. That was one thing that she did. The answer, she said, the over Miles and Harrison. Whatever. I Don't you have a clock here? You don't have a clock here. Oh, Mr. Green. Mr. Green. No, there was not. York Freeway. They got a lot of stuff.
Tell them I got to come in this one. I'm going to today.
Okay. Because I did finally see Bonnie on Thursday. And I talked to her about something on should be getting one. I did tell her, I realized that This is a shame. Yeah, that was a free ride. He came in the I'm serious. It's not. That's stuff that we recognize from the bank. If they, we don't care, they weren't the keys. And this is the day that yes. It wasn't a whole lot. It's not something. I remember the voice was like in class.
Okay, we've given up trying to reach the people on the Twitter that may be like Gilligan's Island or something. They may be gone for a few days. We think, what's that? Okay, the chief's on his way. That's good. Next time we can get started because they've been on the Twitter. The first thing you're going to see is a quick review of what our buildings are today. Okay, so not to say anything else. My name is Jim Bailey. I'm lucky enough to be the mayor of this great town. Commissioner Rod Lewandowski is here. Commissioner Leonard is away this week, and she's not able to be with us today. I'm going to give you a quick run through of what we're going to do. We're going to do a quick little review. If you've been in other meetings about this, you have seen the presentation from Police and Fire about what our facilities are like today and what some of the issues are that we face. Then the architects that we have selected and retained, USA Architects, are going to give a presentation and kind of take you through the process about what's going on over the last few months, how we've gotten to a point where we are right now. We met with the neighborhood folks and we met with the generic town meeting as well on it, as well as talk about it at our other town meetings. And the way we left those off were architects were going to be coming on board, and we were going to first be analyzing the site for what could fit there, what could work there, if it worked there, and then you'll hear they spent a lot of time with our police and firemen going over what operationally they need to make it work. So we'll get over that, and then I'll go over a little bit about just a little technical detail, which is the money and how we would pay for this. So we'll touch on that a little bit at the end, and we'll open up at the end for your questions, or whatever it is you'd like to review. Welcome everybody from the tour. Come on in. We'll just kind of
Going out some more chairs. There's about 5 here, 2 more in the second row, 1 more on the side. So please feel free.
So with that, we'll start. Chief Davis is going to start us off with the presentation, and Chief Carey, we hope will time it just right to be here, and we'll continue on with the police. Okay.
How you doing? Thanks for coming. My name is Keith Davis. I'm with the Collington Fire Department. I'm the fire chief currently. I've been employed there for 21 years. I started there as a volunteer 2 years before that, and then was lucky enough to get hired full time. So I've been chief for about the last 7 years for the department. I also live in town. I grew up here, and I currently live with my family in town too. Going into a little bit about the fire department background. So most of us are full-time employees now. The way that volunteerism has kind of changed in the fire service, it's kind of going downward a little bit because of the training requirements that they have to meet now, and also all the hours that it takes to volunteer for the fire service. A lot of people work 2 jobs, they have families, their kids play sports, they don't want to miss that type of thing, so the amount of hours it takes to be a volunteer and maintain that status is pretty difficult to do nowadays. So countywide, countrywide, we're seeing the downfall of volunteerism, unfortunately. So as that's happened, we've had to increase our staffing there that works around the clock full time so that we can still provide that service to the community that you expect. So Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, we have staff there, but we work 24-hour shifts. We come in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they don't leave till 8 o'clock the next morning, and there's 3 shifts to do that. So for a third of their life, primarily, they spend at that fire station. Get back to that one slide there. This is the current fire station. So this is kind of a bird's eye view to see. The red line is the footprint of the fire station and its property. This parking lot does not belong to the fire station in the borough. That belongs to the restaurant. Another difficult thing for us to get back real quick is the how the building sits. It's not parallel to the street. So to pull out of that station and make a right, these are where our 2 bigger fire trucks sit. To make a right, it's hard to make that turn. So a lot of times we have to K-turn. And also we get traffic that backs up into that. So we're situated in the downtown. So it's the main intersection. Collins and Haddon, obviously everyone here knows that. It's getting more and more crowded and congested with the restaurants in the downtown and how busy everything is. So that's great for town. It's not so great for how we're situated in the middle of that. When we have to go out, say at 5, 6 o'clock at night on a Friday night and traffic's backed up all the way down in front of our firehouse, we have to wait till the light turns green at Collins to be able to get out. The reason being is if we blow our sirens and put our lights on, there's nowhere for that traffic to go. If we were to force them out onto Haddon through the red light, it could cause a traffic accident because it's a blind turn there, and the cars coming down Haddon at either direction won't know why they're going through that red light. So we wait until all that traffic clears, and then we can come out around them. And now we're going into head-on traffic around that blind curve coming off of Haddon. If you see the truck here, that's the turn and the radius that we make the turn to go up Haddon. So a lot of times we'll hit that tree or that telephone pole, not hit it, but we would hit it. We'd have to back up and go around to do a K-turn. There might be a divot or 2 out of the tree, I'm not going to lie. The ladder truck that sits there has to come out and we can't K-turn. It's too long, and the back turn radius of the truck doesn't make that turn. So we have to go all the way down. If you know town, we have to go down to Park Ave or Atlantic Ave and go around that way. So that all these things I just talked about delay our response time. And minutes, seconds equals a lot of time when you're sitting waiting for the emergency responders to show up. So another thing is the apron's a little bit too small to pull our truck all the way out. You can see a pedestrian there as the truck's out. When we do our equipment checks and we do to watch the vehicles, the pedestrians have to walk in the street, we'll put cones out there, or we have to come long ways out of the bay and across the apron that way to check the trucks, but that blocks the rest of the bays when we do that, so that's not optimal for us. Spatial issues, that's the ladder truck, that's the ceiling, so it's less than 6 inches from there. If we were to get a new piece of apparatus, most likely we won't be able to get it this low. We would have to specially custom make it that way, which isn't optimal, and it adds cost. But if there's snow or anything on the apron, we got to be careful because a little bump up, we could hit the ceiling up there. Also, if you go back across the boat in the apparatus bay, we have to push, we had to clear those lockers out to be able to fit it in there. And if you notice the doors, the width of the apparatus bays aren't wide enough because this building was built, the addition was built in 1982-83. And the fire engine, fire apparatus, we had the one that comes by with Santa Claus every year. That was the biggest piece of apparatus we had in town at that time. We had a ladder truck, but as far as an engine goes, that was the biggest one we had. This is almost twice the size of that, and it's only going to get bigger because when I started the fire service, we weren't running into active shooter incidents and pulling people out. Our job titles have gotten and grown a lot more bigger now that times have changed. So went to hazmat, it went to car accident extrication. So who knows 10, 20, 50, 30 years down the road what the fire department's going to be responding to. Office space. This office is my office there, and then this one here is the captain and lieutenant's office. And then there's a throughway that goes all the way through there. That's my office all the way up front, and then this is the captain and lieutenant's office, and then there's a bathroom in the middle. They were bunk rooms when this addition was put on, because we had 2 fire stations, one on the west side on Conley Ave, the other one here, and the crews were split. But everything got put for efficiency purposes into this one station, and then we added staff to have the ambulance on all the time. So now it's grown, so we couldn't use them as bunk rooms anymore. We had to make temporary makeshift bunk rooms. If you're on the tour, you would have saw that. And those temporary bunk rooms were built about 12 years ago when we were talking about building a new firehouse, and then the economy switched a little bit. If you go back one slide, Carlos. That's the only shared common bathroom with a shower in it. So that's not great for decontamination of the staff when they come back from the fire call and the MS call. They have to take showers, decontaminate themselves. Not only that is, now they have to walk through this office space and cross-contaminate that area with anything that they have on. As far as the gear goes, in our fire gear, we have to take that through the bunk area, the temporary bunk area, to get back to the washer and dryer to wash that. So it cross-contaminates that area also. ADA compliance, this is, we do fire inspections, property maintenance inspections. We currently constantly have visitors coming to the firehouse. There's no parking for them because we don't have any parking spaces. And it's not ADA compliant with up the step into the heavy glass door, and then if you look in the window here, it's too tall for that. We have water intrusion all throughout the building. We've tried to fix the roof numerous times. It just leaks because of the age of the building and how it's constructed. These floor drains aren't spaced properly. They're kind of in the walk-out space, so the water accumulates around there, and that also runs all the way back into the temporary bunk room, which was part of the apparatus bay. That's not very healthy. This is our HVAC in our bunk rooms. So we had to put a hole in the wall and do an air conditioner, and this heater no longer works anymore. It's broke, so they had to run another one. We constantly get, because of the dampness and the dumpster that's right out in the alleyway for the restaurant, bugs, rodents inside the firehouse, and you see all the water intrusion into the ceiling. The main thing and focus is we do have female staff on. That bathroom with the shower is shared by everybody. Those bunk rooms don't have ceilings that go all the way up. So you can kind of just peek up and overlook if you wanted to. So it's really not optimal for the female staff who works there, or anybody for that matter. So why not renovate? To renovate that facility, if you saw the angle of the building, it's not going to fix that. We really have to do pretty much a tear down and build back up. And the footprint of that really still wouldn't allow us to have what we really need. And it's going to still keep us in that center mass area that's only going to get bigger, I see, with the downtown expansion and more congested. So it will still keep us there. And it's going to be more expensive. To renovate that area and relocate us for a year, 2 years, could cost $500,000 just to put up in temporary housing, and there's really nowhere in town for us to do that and run out of efficiently. And I turned it over to Chief Carey now.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kevin Carey. I'm the police chief in town. Born and raised in this town, still live here today. It's part of me, and I can't tell you how much I do love Collins. So, quickly, one to the police department. The facility was purchased by the Borough in 42 for the Civil Defense Board program. We then ran out of space and moved in 1950. Building is still the same footprint it was then, as anything to expand upon that space. We are 24/7. We have work during the day. That ends at around 5 o'clock. And around 5 o'clock, that drops anywhere between 3 to 5 officers from the hours of 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. They are for our overnight officers, given the fact that we're 24/7 operations. The officers that work overnight are generally responding from the community. They're not to be sitting in the station, so our response is typically from the street. So you have 3 to 5 officers in there working. They're not going to be in the station. We have 31 full-time employees, 1 part-time parking authority employees, 15 crossing guards, and 23 special officers. And what the specials do is help us with community events such as the Mayfair and things like that. They're a big piece of what makes our special events run, and we don't have any space in our building to really house them. Location issues that we have, we are in the central business district, much like the fire departments. Not really that big of a deal for our response, given the fact that we can respond from out of the station the majority of the time. The issue arises when we bring people back to the station. We don't have a sally port or anything like that, so there's no area for a secure prisoner transport. What that would be is if we had someone under arrest, we had a sally port, we could then have them in a secured area prior to taking them out of our car and moving them into our building. We don't have that capability right now. It's just in our open air parking lot that we would transfer a team from the vehicle to our building. Spatial issues. Storage. We are very, very tight on storage. The top left picture is our general storage for the building. So that is where we keep our water bottles for the officers, where all of our parking signs go for those special events, our pedestrian cross signs, the crossing guard supplies, the mailboxes for the officers. So it's a very, very tight space. Our records, we have about 2 years on site. We've outgrown the space for record storage, so all of our records, given the retention policies and laws that are in place, we have off-site. Evidence, so our top left is our evidence storage. That is our long-term evidence storage. As you can see, it's quite packed. That is located down near our patrol operations area. We do have an evidence storage upstairs as well. But again, we can't meet the best practices, which say that there should be access control of the evidence at all times and a good way to transfer evidence from intake to long-term storage. The other issue is there's supposed to be a separation between money, drugs, and guns, and general evidence. So those pieces that are seen as critical or expensive evidence are supposed to be separated and under surveillance at all times. We don't have that capability in our state. Working area. So the Detective Bureau, that is off-site. They're actually over on the Parkview property. We used to have them upstairs. We've run out of room for them. Now that area that they were in serves as a conference room. It serves as our agent's office where he processes firearms applications, he processes evidence, he processes any type of fingerprinting that comes in. So the detectives are no longer there. The sergeant's office also serves as another multi-purpose area. So that is also where we take walking complaints. So in addition to having a sergeant have an area to sit down and prepare review reports that the officers do to make sure that they're concise, clear, and accurate, it also serves as our walk-in area. It's very disruptive to their function. The other multi-purpose space we have is the volume of pictures. The one on the right is our deputy chief's office, who's our internal affairs officer. It also serves as our server room, so it's quite loud in there. In addition to the computers being loud, we have to have a window air conditioning unit because of the heat that's in that area. So anytime you have some type of confidential complaint, that's where you can go. Problem with that being that's on the second floor, and that also is through our patrol operations area to get to his office. So if you had lodged a complaint against an officer that's working that day, you might have to then walk past that officer to go upstairs and lodge a formal complaint with our deputy. So the bathroom that you see on the bottom, that is our shared bathroom, not only for employees, but also for detainees. Our cells, the toilets don't work. We removed them because the plumbing underground is no longer operational. We have one other bathroom on the first floor in addition to that one. That plumbing also does not work. So that is used for detainees and all employees. The issue with the location of it too, to compound it a little more, is it's in our patrol captain's area, in his office. So he's not really fond of that, but anytime anyone would have to use the restroom, he would in his office and wouldn't want to share it. So compliance, we're not ADA compliant with several steps down. As you can see, the one in particular interest is the bottom right picture. That is our main point of ingress for any detainees. So if we have a detainee that we would need to have ADA compliance for, that's not the case at all. We have no handicap parking out front either. It's just a public parking lot. We kind of rely on the availability for visitors. Our cell block, there are drains on the floor. As I mentioned, those drains underground are tied into the restrooms, so they don't work any longer. There's no way to decontaminate detainees when they come into our building, whether they have blood on them or any kind of bodily fluid or something like that. There are also bars, which we routinely fail state inspection. I have put it for an exemption. Part of that state exemption is we need to physically check on that detainee every 5 minutes. So if an officer has someone under arrest, they're trying to prepare the report, get that person either housed in the county jail or released. Every 5 minutes, they have to stop what they're doing, go physically check on that person, write on a log they have to maintain to say they were doing it. If they don't comply with that, then we can no longer house detainees here. We would have to pay somewhere else for a shared service. You're supposed to have male and female separation as well. The benches on the top, the females typically on the left, males typically on the right. There's also supposed to be juvenile separation, which is paramount. You can't have juvenile arrestees and adult arrestees in the same area. Sight to sound separation. So we use that front sergeant's office for that function. So if we do have a juvenile under arrest, they have to then walk through our operations area into that front room. Again, somewhat problematic. The other issue is if we have any type of domestic issue. That front sergeant's area, again, is where we would house the victim in that domestic issue. The back holding area is where we would have the offender, but there's not really any sight to sound separation there either. So if someone's yelling and screaming and carrying on, you can hear clearly what they're saying. We've had it where there's a lot of back and forth arguing in the station, and obviously you can imagine an already hostile situation. It certainly doesn't make any sense. Training. So we don't have any area within the department right now where we conduct training. We have PowerPoint slides and things like that, but a growing trend and the best practice is hands-on scenario-based training. And that's what helps, that's what's been found to help us learn the easiest and most effective. We don't have that space. So often what I'll have to do is if I want to have any of that scenario-based training, I have to pay overtime for people to go off-site and take that training when they're not working. Whereas if we had the space within our headquarters, we could conduct that training while they're working. So safety and security. The top left picture is our reception. So you walk into our lobby, that glass is supposed to be bulletproof, and it is not. It's nothing more than just a piece of plexiglass. The parking issues, we don't have any secured parking for our patrol vehicles or our staff. So currently, there's a fence around where we park patrol vehicles. It's open to the public, and we have people parking there quite frequently. Issue really becomes when, again, we're transferring prisoners. So as you can imagine, it's kind of a public space when we're doing that transfer. The layout of the building, when you walk into our building, say you're coming there for a walking complaint or something, you're actually walking into our operations area. There is no private and public separation to our building at all, other than the lobby. We can't conduct business in the lobby because there's other people there that can hear sensitive information. So anytime you enter our building, you're actually entering into our operations space. Telecommunications, the bottom right there. The building, as I said, we purchased in 42, we moved in 50. Obviously, technology isn't what it was. It's been updated, fortunately, but with that update, we have to kind of fit that into the space that we have. So that's certainly a fire hazard. I hope the fire department will really look at that too hard right now. That is the brains of the police department, though. So if that goes down, really, our internal operations can no longer function, which is a huge issue. The picture right next to that is our security interview area. So if you are arrested for a crime, we're going to interview you, interrogate you. That area is up on our second floor, so you have to walk again to our patrol operations area, but the officer can just place you under arrest, bring you up the steps, hoping that you can get up the steps, into this nice secure room. The door in the picture is not the entryway into the room. That is actually an exit to the stairwell. So our secure interrogation room, where we have someone in custody, has access to exit the building. So we have a key there that we lock, we take out of the room, and hope that they don't see us do that. The other thing I'll just quickly note is our armory. It's nothing more than a closet. We've taken precautions to separate our ammunition and our weapons, so that the event that there is some type of incident there, that you couldn't get access to both at the same time. Health. So our HVAC system, obviously there is a few leaks. We routinely replace those ceiling tiles probably every 3 months, especially now that it's air conditioning season. We do have leaks in it. It's beyond its lifespan, so it leaks quite often. The top right picture is our condensation line for our air conditioner. I'm not really sure what any of that stuff is, but whenever our air conditioner doesn't operate properly, Public Works comes in and they blow out that line for us, and that's the type of stuff that's coming out. So I can only imagine what the officers are breathing in as they're working in those conditions. The cells on the bottom, as I mentioned, the floor drains don't work, so there's no way to decon anyone. The bottom right used to be a bathroom. You used to have a toilet and sink in there that's required by state law. It's not capable of happening. And the bottom left picture is, in addition to having the issues of having sub-lock, that is also where our heater is now. So any type of emission from that heater is then leaking into our cell block area. Water intrusion, our building is located above or below the grade of the parking lot. Anytime it rains heavily, our cell block area and our locker room / break room area floods. That water intrusion, you can only imagine you can have pest issues as well. So why not renovate? If we did any type of major renovation in the building, we would then have to come up with full compliance with those best practices, be it a sally port, secured cell block area, evidence that's separated and secured and cambered. So there's a large cost to that, so we don't have the footprint to be able to do that. Also, although there's no real air quality issues as far as mold in the building, we've had an air test, and I think a lot of that is because there probably is mold that's not disturbed. To the point that it becomes disturbed, it's probably when it's going to become an issue. So anything you're going to do that is going to disturb that. Obviously, there's other issues with us having to relocate and again contract out that service for having teams or something like that who are doing that renovation.
Okay, thanks. So, you
No, I just got evidence of having here.
So, well, a couple different things. One, I was given 3 workers' comp claims while you guys were finishing this up. That's a joke, sorry. Okay, a couple things. First, I just want to know, Chief Carey, Chief Davis, we're really lucky to have them, okay? They have done yeoman's work through this process. It takes a lot of extra work to spend the time to think about how this should be, how things should work. Thank you to both of you. You've done a great job with this. I also feel I have to just point out to you, like, why, how does it get this bad, okay? We had plans in 8, 9, 10 to begin this process. We had plans drawn up. We were working on the project, and the recession hit. And when the recession hit, we were forced to do layoffs in both the fire and the police department to make ends meet. And it has taken a little bit of time to get us back on sound footing, as we would have some additional money. That was not, the sense we had was to not put that back into buildings right away, but that we had to put it into personnel to build our ranks back up to where they were, to keep our operations at a level that we wanted it to be at. So that's why we kind of had those plans before. Now we're down the road. We're in a position to do this. I'll talk to you money about it after we go through the operations of this. So that's I just wanted to get that out. So I'm not sure who from USA is leading up. So go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Vallis. I couldn't help but see all the faces of the police and fire and EMS personnel in here listening to the chief's talk about their facilities, your facilities. And for them to provide the level of service that they provide to this community with these kind of facilities is really amazing. So I would like to give you all I'm going to touch on the agenda, and then I'm going to hand it off to our team. We're going to cover 4 different sections in this part of the presentation. We're just going to briefly introduce the team. We're going to then move to like the body of the presentation, which is like an understanding of the project. Then we're going to talk about an exploration of concepts and aesthetics. That's really what we're here tonight about. You heard the mayor say the first thing that our charge was, does it fit? Does it fit on the designated site? And that, we can give that a thumbs up. We've been working closely with the chiefs and administration for the last 4.5, 5 months, and that was the first check the box. So fitting on the site was one thing, but the next thing is, how does it fit into the neighborhood? And that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for tonight, is to start getting that feedback from you. We're gonna have an exercise at the end of the presentation where we want your feedback on the aesthetics of the building. So you're gonna see things tonight that are very high level, they're conceptual, but they're developed enough so that we do know that it fits the site. And then lastly, we're gonna talk about some funding options. The mayor's gonna touch on that as well, but we have a specialist that's on our team, that's part of our team, that's going to help with some grant support for the project as well, because that's important support. So high level, USA Architects, we've been in business for 33 years. We have 3 offices. We're a 60-person firm, architecture and interior design. We hire out engineers that are specialists on a project-by-project basis. So the engineering family of folks that you see up here are ones that we've had 10-year, 30-year relationships with, that we've worked on projects similar to this. I'm not going to mention them all. The only one I am going to mention is the Aubrey Group, which is Sarah Aubrey, who's the grant specialist. She's going to talk towards the end of the presentation. But we're seeing this as, this is the group, this is the project team, and the most important piece really is actually the bottom right corner, which is the Borough of Collinsville, which is all of you, because we're in this together, and that's why we want to start engaging you tonight. Just quickly, here's just a handful of our projects. In this project type, this is a project especially that we love to do. Actually, I've got my A team with me that has worked on several of these projects before throughout the entire region. Police-only buildings, fire-only buildings, police and fire, police and EMS. Any kind of combination thereof, we've done them all in throughout this area. Here are just a couple, here's just a few examples of some of our work that shows a broad spectrum of aesthetic approaches to the projects, because they were client specific and site specific, and that's why you have some unique issues with your site, and that's what we're going to take on head on, and that's where I'm going to kind of hand it off to Carlos and TJ, and we're going to start to walk you through how we looked at this site.
Correct. So now we're going to talk about project understanding. The first thing that we did as a team, as a group, we started identifying the main goals of this project. So the 3 main goals that we identified was make sure that the building is going to be affordable, it's going to be a functional building. Of course, this building got to be integrated to the community, and at the end, make sure that we keep the sounds and activity low. Here is part of the programming. Chief, if you can help me out with the programming. This is some of the spaces as a group that we identified why the new facility should have. So we have it here broken down into two floors.
Right. And just quickly touch on some of the areas that we don't currently have that will be included in the programming space of the new building. Vestibule, that is important because currently there's no place, if you come to the station after hours, for you to seek refuge out of the weather, to come in, or a safe spot within the area, within the building. We don't have the ability to do that now. An intake and safe room, that just speaks to that private to public separation I spoke about before. They would be rooms within the building, but a public space within that building before you're into our operation. We don't have the room for that also. Roll call room would be more for training activities. Locker rooms, we don't have a locker room for males and females currently. And really the biggest one is our cell area and our sally port. They are the best practices in the state, and they are that way for a reason. That is for the safety of the officers and the safety of the community.
Can you just describe what a sally port
So
is?
sally port, like I was saying, if we have someone under arrest, what we do is we pull into more or less a garage. So once we go to that garage, an overhead door comes down. Now that is a secured space. Within that secured space, the officers can then take their weapon and put it into a locker while still having visual on the person in the back of the vehicle. Because our cell blocks are supposed to be a weapons-free area, so you avoid situations like that happened in Gloucester Township a couple years ago, where a couple officers were shot in their home station. So the sally port is the first step to that secure area. The That is allowing for prisoner transport that's safe for the officer and safe for the community. We've had instances, unfortunately, where we've had prisoners escape, if you will, from our parking lot. We've had them under arrest, and they transferred to bring them into the building. They've gotten away from the officer now. That is what a Sally Port cures. It ensures safety for that neighborhood and really for the entire community, so that person that was under arrest is not out in the That's what kind of gets for it. I'll turn it over to the slide.
So in the fire department, we started getting wind that we may be able to get a new facility. We comprised the team internally. So this is the team that's been working, but we had a team internally in the fire department that kind of put all our ideas together. So we have the officer of each 3 shifts, and then one of the firefighters from each 3 shift, and then they were able to bring it back to the staff on the shifts to kind of gather all the information that we could at all levels of our agency so that we could get feedback from everybody on what the needs are, and not just for the next 3 years, 4 years when I may be here, but the next 19, 20, 25 years, 30 years that the firefighters that are standing back here today are going to have to live in this new facility. So really the main thing for us is create staff places that they can decontaminate themselves, showers where they don't have to cross-contaminate the other facilities. We deal with a lot of carcinogens, we deal with a lot of bloodborne pathogens. We have to be able to decontaminate, and we can't really do that efficiently in our fire station currently. So to be able to do that, we built some of those things into programs. That was one of the high priorities from the internal staff. Also, just areas to move about and be able to fit the apparatus that we currently have, and any new apparatus that we may be able to have or have to have in the future. The apparatus is getting bigger. This current facility is not going to support that. We have to do something. And then just functionality-wise, storage space. We have no storage space. If you went on the tour, you saw that. No room to walk about, and just space for the public to come in. We're very public oriented. We have school tours that come there. The public comes there. The doors are always open as you walk by. It's part of the community. It's everyone's fire station. We always constantly greet people out front. So we want to keep that intact at the new facility and have it safe for people to come in and with the kids and for the fire station. But really, health is the main focus, and some of these things we build into the programs are going to fix that for our firefighters.
After we start looking at the program, yes, sir.
What happens if you need a new fire engine?
We're going to do questions at the end.
So one of the things, so after looking at the 2 programs, combining the fire department and combining the police department, we realized that looking at square footage is over 30,000 square feet. Other design consideration that we have is thinking about the architecture, how this architecture, and this will be part of your role to that, help us to identify how this building is going to attach or connect to the existing architecture and assist to the community. Other thing, this is very important when we look at community engagement. We're providing spaces for the community in the building. So the main goal of this building is, this building, we understand it's a public safety building, but at the end of the day, the goal is here that this building becomes as an amenity for the community. That you can feel that you have other amenities. For example, think about maybe to have some meeting spaces for the building. And sustainable principles. Considering when we as an architect, we start to design a building, we have to think about sustainability. How we can make sure that this building reduce energy consumption. How make sure that this building reduce the use of water. Why we're not using local materials? So those are the things that we gotta consider when we're designing a building. Make sure that we are compliant with code, and make sure that we can respond to any emergency pretty quickly. And here is, if everybody familiar, here is, you can see the site plan. This is the site where the proposal is located, which is on the left side of that avenue. And here you will see actually the relationship, how we're just few blocks away from the existing police department, from the existing fire department. This is overall the night park. And again, you can see how close we are to everyone in the community from this side.
Excuse me, can
Yes.
you speak up, please?
Yes.
Speak up a little slow. Use the mic.
That would be better? Okay. Okay. So, And the other thing is actually here in this image, we can actually look at the side. The side is between the red boundaries, and we're looking at more or less 28,000 square feet building. And again, we can see the connection, the size and a great connection. On the left side, you can connect to the city, Camden. You can go on the right side, you can go to downtown. The white arrow shows you the connections with the city, could be by cars, pedestrian connections. And again, now this is point number 3. This is very important because here is, we're gonna talk to you about all the process, how we got here to this point. We started organizing the concept, which is thinking about all these programming spaces. And here is, we identify what are the major components of this building. The major components here is 3 main components. We got the fire department, we got the police department, and we have the community component for this project. Through all the floor plans that I want to show you, or that we are going to show you, you will see that always the red color related to the police, to the fire department, and the blue related to the police department. So here in the side, we start looking as a more think the verticality of the project. And this sketch is when we start diagramming every single space, how this building functionally will work, and how we can bring this all together. And then here is what we start thinking as a sketch concept. Okay, we gotta have a community which is gonna be access, and we're gonna have a relationship between all these components, which will be the community, the fire, the police, and of course the red arrow. What I show you is the drive-through way. Here is the concept plan. So after we start looking at the programming, we start looking, okay, we need more or less 30,000 square feet of the building. We work a couple of months with the whole team to go over of different concepts. And we go through, it took a few weeks where we went through the process. And this process, when you are designing space, you will be with the user, measure what are the most important adjacencies of the building. So on the bottom part of the building, this is Haddon Avenue. And then in concept number 1, we start looking at what about the bay, the apparatus base is on the front of the building. We have the purple color is actually the community component, which we think that's the lobby. And then the blue, what I was saying, is the police department component, the fire department component. When you look at concept number 1, you can actually see how the blue and the red, they come to the front of the building and interact with that lobby space. So that was the first concept. As you can see in this concept, we have few parking spaces on the back of the building, and the apparatus bay right in the front of the building. Then we start looking at concept number 2. Concept number 2, as you can see, the apparatus bay, the turning around really for the truck was not really working. It's going to be more challenging actually than what they have in the current design. And again, you see that we have the lobby, the community lobby, which is the purple color. And then we have the police department, which is the blue, and the fire department, which is the red. So then we move on. We jump on number 3. So number 3, we start looking, okay, what about we rotate the apparatus bay? So that didn't work out either for the turning radius. And we showed, and of course, you start looking some angular spaces that are not really useful. In this side concept, we have again some additional 13 parking space. We look after that. We start looking at design concept number 4, which was the more preferable design. Why? Because it gives you a pass through to the side, give you the opportunity to have more parking spaces. I don't know if you can see out there, but on the right part, you can see what we talk about the sally port. So the sally port on the roof of the police department, you can see how actually they can pass through the bay. Again, in this also we have the community component. You see the red color and the blue color, they come to the front of the building. So you see the interaction that they will have at the main lobby with the community. So after we select site concept number 4, then we start developing in more detail. So after we develop this concept, then we develop 2 floors, looking how the programming will fit. So if we look at the site plan, again, we have almost 20 parking spots in one side of the building. We have on the blue side, on the back, which is the Saliport area, where the police department will go pass through. And then on the front will be all the apparatus bay, which is for the fire department. Again, the red is the fire department, they're gonna be on the front of the building, the back will be the police department. On the first floor, we're looking more of the holding cells. And then on the front, we will have the public lobby. Second floor, on the second floor, on the front of the building, you will have, you have the meeting rooms on the front of the building, and you look at the gym too, you will have on the front of the building. You will see all the red area, this is actually all the dorms that we have for the fire department, and then on the back, we have support for the police department. After we look at 2 stories, option, we start looking at 3-story option. So we didn't stop on the 4-story. We look at the 3-story, the 2-story option. We look at 3 stories. So now what the 3-story helping us is to increase the use of the site, open the site a little bit more, and we can have more additional parking. In this version, you will have more or less 30 parking spots. And again, the fire department will be on the front of the building, the police department will be on the back of the building. You look at second floor area, right in the second floor area, it will be the training meeting room on the front of the building, which will have access for the community. On the second floor area, you will see the red, which is the door for the fire department. And then on the 3rd floor, we will have just for the police department administration area. Here is.
Can you just go back for a second? I know it's really all sometimes difficult, but it's important to point out really those sort of lilac purple areas, because essentially that's the merging of police and fire where we're receiving efficiencies, where essentially instead of building 2 separate facilities, one getting a training facility, another getting a training thing, is we get to have some of those shared space. So I know it's really all difficult to see up there, it's tough to take in. I just wanted to kind of point that out as a thing of emphasis, because that's one of the benefits of putting police and fire, is we get those efficiencies.
You had to be reading my mind, because I was just going to say that. This is by co-locating both of these entities into one location. We're leveraging that. We're not duplicating space. So, and the chiefs and their teams were great at working together and saying, no, we don't need to duplicate that space. We can schedule it. We can schedule appropriately and administratively handle things. So, like the fitness areas, the training rooms, the meeting rooms, the entry vestibule, all those things, we're not building them twice. So that's why by co-locating these facilities, we're actually able to make a tighter and more efficient building, which is great.
Correct. Here is actually, I don't know if you can all understand, but this is actually the view from Hammond Avenue. Here, let me show you. This is actually the existing building. They have been there on the side. This is the existing living facilities, and this is the apartment building. So you can actually see the scale of the neighborhood. So now what we're seeing today is just like this. Now the building is gone. So you have an open side, so you can see the tracks on the back. Here is when we're looking at massive concepts. So by any means, this is what the building is going to look like. This is more about the mass, what volume of 2 stories will look like. And you can actually see how they actually line up with the apartment building. And here is some more 3D view of what the site look like. This is the assisted living community. This is the apartment building. This is the track. Here is the existing building. They have been demolished. And this is looking at what the 2 stories building mass look like. And this is actually what the 3 stories massive will look like. So here is the 2 stories. This is the 3 stories.
Yeah, so what Carlos was talking about Massey's, it's taking that footprint and kind of extruding it up and putting heights to what the interior space is in factory structure, et cetera. Those are not design solutions, okay? That's not the color of the building. This is just taking the functionality of the building and starting to express it in 3D. So that's what kind of leads us into this part of the presentation, which is the aesthetics and how are we going to make that mass fit into the neighborhood? And that's with sloping roofs, probably. That's with material treatments. It's with scale. So that's really kind of like the segue to this to this part. Did you want to go through? And these are just precedent. As architects, we always look for inspiration, not only in our own work but in others' work. So what we did was we gathered a bunch of precedent images. There's a lot of different aesthetics here. You're going to see some very, very traditional types of looking buildings and some very, very contemporary and edgy looking buildings. So we're here to get that feedback so we can see, okay, what's the right fit for Collingswood, because your building will look like your building. It won't look like any other that exists anywhere else. So these are just some of those images that we gathered, like I said, just current design.
And this is what Mark was saying at the beginning of the presentation. We showed you that this building at the end of the day is going to be tailored for your needs. We don't have 2 buildings that they are all the same. We're going to go through. This is what we're trying to do to the exercise to see what we need, how we can fit this building to the community. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand out all these images that you will have to buy, so you can actually select the one that you prefer.
Two, no more than 3.
So that's right. So what we want people to do is like circle the number or just somehow highlight what you like, okay? We did something like this with way before when we did the lumberyard, where we did a slide program that had people like rate as we went through, just to get an idea, just a sampling of whoever came out tonight, see what they have to say. But while we're doing that, let's keep rolling, okay? So you can all take a look at them and a little work activity for everyone. We'll be doing jumping jacks in a minute.
Okay, so as we're ending these ones we're going to kind of go through fairly quickly. You can always go back to these later. So we're just going to flip through these images pretty quickly. You can always revisit them. But these are the same images that we already have. And we just wanted to demonstrate a variety of that could be possible.
Okay, well, the handouts. Just, if you need one, just raise your hand, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to kind of slide through this. Very quickly, did everyone get a piece of paper?
Okay, so while looking at those, we're going to continue on. We're going to have a little presentation about funding, some grant opportunities that we're working on. Let me preface them all by telling you this. There is no free money out there, okay? It just doesn't exist. To the extent that there's any that you can get to, it's very pigeonholed and specific about what the need is. There's not money available to build firehouses, to buy fire engines, to buy police cars. There it is. We can get money every once in a while to plant a couple trees, but like that, we can't get it for the big ticket items. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the funding.
Yeah, folks, I really ask for your attention. We've got Sarah Aubrey from the Aubrey Group. She's a principal with her firm. She's going to talk about some of the funding options that we're starting to target for your project. There will be time for you to mark those things up. We're here as late as we need to be. I want to get Sarah some airtime here so she can talk to you all.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Mark. My name is Sarah Aubrey. I hear
you.
You got it, no problem. Sorry.
There's a wireless, wireless is set. No. Give it a few seconds.
You got it now?
Sorry about that. My name is Sarah Aubrey. I'm principal with the Aubrey Group. It's good to meet all of you, or at least see all of your beautiful smiling faces. I have been in New Jersey for the entirety of my career. I started off as a legislative director at the New Jersey Assembly for the Housing and Community Development Committee. I worked at the College of New Jersey, and now I started my own firm to help places like the borough with their grant funding needs. I've had a relationship with USA Architects for about 2 years now, and they're fantastic people. They really like coming out and meeting everybody like this, which is really cool to see with architects. Some of them are a bit stuffy, but these guys are great. I want to talk about funding options tonight. So grant funding opportunities, as the mayor said, grant funding is a small piece of the puzzle of funding any public infrastructure project. It's very important to do due diligence, to find out what opportunities there are, what collaborations you can build into your structure, so that you're not letting any money sit on the table. But it only works in conjunction with the rest of the larger funding picture. And I just wanted tonight to give you a brief overview. I hope we'll have opportunities to talk in more detail in the future, just about what funding is and what it might be for this project. So the main sources for grant funding are federal agencies. And so of course, when our legislatures go and they allocate money in a budget, that money goes to different agencies, and those agencies are able to fund different grant programs. Agencies such as the Economic Development Association, the CDC, the EPA, the Department of Justice, and the Department of Energy. The state of New Jersey also has some agencies that have funding from the legislature that will then occasionally be available to help out in projects like this. And then there's private foundations. Those are organizations that are dedicated to obtaining certain outcomes in the communities they care about. So that could be things like environmental concerns, concerns for making sure that the public safety program is as helpful to the community as possible. And we're looking into all of these program types. Again, environmental sustainability, that is a big and important one, and I know it's something that everyone in the borough cares about very deeply. Public health, how we can work with our public safety team to make sure that public health outcomes are also at the forefront of every issue. Supporting youth in the community and community economic development. And the programs that are out there, they are wide in the amount of funding that they have available. We're talking like $40,000 to $3 million, and just as the mayor did, certain obligations that really need to be aligned with what the community wants. And we're very lucky to have a team of leaders here who care about making sure that everybody gets their needs met and gets the community that they want to live in. And with the building, which is also, as we were talking about before, the ability to collaborate to put spaces together, they're also open to looking at funding opportunities that are connected to building new partnerships for things that can bring to the residents types of services that they might not necessarily have easy access to. So that could be like a community health partner that could be located in the building. Again, these are partnerships that would help carry the cost of the building. And tonight I'm just here to tell you that we're looking thoroughly into everything. And as we move forward into the process, I'd be happy to talk more about that.
Okay, so let me.
Okay.
So that's kind of an overview. That's a bit of the process. That's kind of where we are in terms of the layout of a building. Looking at trying to fine tune it. We have some preliminary numbers, which aren't real numbers, but they still give us ballparks of this. The project would be like between 10 and 13 million dollars. Okay. So I want to just tell you. So you've heard a little bit about trying to limit grants. Grants is not what's going to pay the cost of this project. We're trying to do it for specific tailored programs. See what we can do on that, but it's not going to cover the cost of this. What is going to cover the cost of this is our debt within the borough is on a very aggressive repayment schedule. Back as the recession hit, as we went into our issues with the lumberyard and the restructuring that we did for our financial purposes to address those concerns, put us on, back in 08, put on us on an aggressive schedule to pay off 90% of our debt within 10 years. Okay, excuse me, within 20 years. So that we're at a point right now where we're kind of on the downslope of that, and the $22 million in debt that we had back in 08 will literally come off the books in 2026, 27, okay? That debt includes the water towers that we just did, the pool, all of those infrastructure improvements that we have made. So over the next 8 to 10 years, we're also going to have increasing redevelopment funds coming in from a bunch of the projects in town. All right, and we are targeting that money to not go into the municipal budget. It's going to be targeted because the reason for that is because it's literally one-time expenses, one-time revenue. The time when those projects all go on ratables, which will be happening over the next 10 years, and become ratables, those additional funds that we're getting will go away, okay? Because the properties, when they're fully taxed, there'll be less revenue coming into the borough when it's fully taxed. And so we don't want to leave the borough in a position that when they get to the end of that run, that they've been getting an extra $100 allowance, and all of a sudden, boom, they lost $100 allowance. Now what do we do? We're targeting that money for infrastructure projects. This year, our municipal budget has an additional $1 million that we're putting into roadway improvements, okay? So the combination of additional revenues over the next 10 years and the paying off and reducing of our debt over the next 10 years is going to allow us to structure the debt to do this work, where we are going to be able to, over that course of time, pay down a significant amount of that based on the additional revenues we get in. And if we don't have it totally paid off at the end of that 10-year period, then when the other loans go away, we'll be able to go bonding. Even I expect it will be at least be able to be down half from that 10 to 13 million number, wherever we end up with. We end up with that, to have half of that paid off in the next 10 years, and then when we have to fund with revenue that we have already, no additional tax money, okay? And then at the end of that period, with the restructuring, the way they restructured our debt, we will basically be getting rid of $22 million of debt, okay? And we'll have the capacity to take on 5, 6, 10, 13, if it's the full amount, take on that debt without having any impact on taxpayers. The closest analogy I can get for you is it's as though you've got your car payments are ending, at the end of this year, but we want to go buy another car. We need a second car, we're going to buy another car. Well, you wait to go buy that second car until that first one's paid, and now I don't have that debt payment anymore, and I'm going to replace it with a debt payment for something else, okay? So that's what the structure of this. We really don't think that, if anything, it's going to be a minimal impact, and I don't believe it's going to have that impact at all. I think we're going to be able to do it within our revenue and our debt structure and set this up so that it does not have an impact on taxpayers. Okay? So that's where we are with that. All right. I think that's all our presentation, right? I got the agenda. I got it right? Yep. Okay. So we want to open it up for your questions. Okay? Yes.
What's plan B if there should be a recession?
Well, plan B, if there should be a recession, is that we still have these additional revenues that come in. They're the equivalent of tax payments coming in. Okay? And so we're still going to be able to structure, get deep in the weeds on municipal finance, but in the world of municipal finance, we're allowed, we're allowed to do what's similar here, water here.
Yeah. So you have a debt cap of how much money you want. That's a tough question.
You can do basically construction financing for up to 10 years. So municipalities, there's requirements. You can do short-term bonds, 1-year bonds, okay? And you can pay interest only on those bonds for a period of 3 years. And then after 3 years, you have to make a minimal principal payment on those bonds for up to 10 years. And then at the end of 10 years, you have to roll into what they call permanent financing, okay? So for this project, let's presume we have no additional revenue coming in from anybody, okay? If the project is $15 million, okay, then through those initial years, the first 10 years, the payments are minimal. I don't have the exact number, but it's a minimal additional payments on the interest on that. And remember, you're not going to spend it all at once. It's going to be over a few years as construction happens. So you have that running, and at the end of that 10-year period, our other debt comes off the books. And if nothing else changes, what will happen in that 10th year is that the borough's debt will, even if we go finance at that time a full $15 million for this, which I don't think we're going to be there, but a full $15 million, the borough's debt obligation will drop from 22 to 15. Okay, so it'll be an easing on the budgetary constraints, even if we get no additional revenue coming in, which like we all expect we are, and that's how it's going. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What's going to happen to the existing building? And is that going to be a factor in paying for this?
Well, the existing police station will go. It's the building where Andy and Barney used to work. It will go. It is the next phase that we're kind of looking at, trying to figure out is, and we're kind of on a similar track, but looking at the public works, moving public works out back here. And one of the things that, the wish list, we'll see if we ever get to it, is we need to make improvements back here, but one thing's probably going to be a parking garage. Probably going to be additional parking, okay? Because the wonderful problem that we have is there's too many people coming, okay? And that we need more parking. There's too many people living on the avenue, and we need room for their cars. And so, but that is, that's a little ways to go. First thing we need to do is police and fire. Firehouse, the borough does not own the firehouse. The firehouse is owned by our volunteer fire company, okay? And so that property borough leases that building, and so that just stays in ownership with the fire company, and then they can make decisions about what they want to do. Okay, Debbie?
I want to speak as a stakeholder in the community, and this, I'm kind of like intimidated, overwhelmed, and horrified. This is going to be directly across the street from my property. So from what you're showing me, there's going to be core apparatus space facing my house. Now, I'm active. I live in Collingswood. I just turned 60. Lived in Collingswood all my life. I bought my house in 1986 out of my own pocket. It was a derelict house, and I paid attention, and I maintained it, and I turned it all around. I painted every square inch of that house myself. It's beautiful, and I put a lot of effort into the community. I've been volunteering for years. I'm a member of the Shade Tree Advisory Board, and all I can say is, not in my neighborhood. And everybody here, raise your hand if you'd like to be in my position, having this thing across the street from their house. We have a quiet neighborhood. So understand that there are neighbors surrounding this, and I don't think any one of us want this facility there. There is a big property on Patel and Conley. I think it's 2 lots, 175 by 350. It's gigantic. The former substation. I agree, we need a new fire station, we need a new police department, not in my neighborhood. It's going to be disruptive. The apparatuses are extremely loud. I worked community garden next to the firehouse for years. The trucks came out, they're noisy. They come down my street, they sound like fire trucks. How am I going to live? My bedroom is directly across the street. My living room, my front yard. My whole property value now is destroyed. Because of this, I have zero. Who's going to pay me for that? How am I going to be compensated? I cannot live across the street from this. I love Collingswood. I was born here. I grew up here. I made a commitment to buying Collingswood. And my Manhattan Avenue wasn't so split when we bought it. And out of my own pocket, in all these years I maintained my property, only to hear that you let the fire station and the police department dilapidate. How could I do it out of my own pocket? I put a new roof on when I needed it. The borough now, oh, there was a problem with the roof. Didn't Santa Claus see that the roof had a problem when he went up there every year? What's going on in this town? And all I can say is I am heartbroken. I have anxiety. I feel intimidated. I'm going to be under surveillance. There's going to be riffraff across the street from my house, constant in and out. I am not going to get a moment's sleep. This is giving me a nervous breakdown. I don't appreciate it, and I don't know what to do. And I'm not the only one. I have neighbors that all surround me. Nobody wants it there. And you know as well as I do, you have existing property in this town that you own where you can put this thing. It doesn't have to be some big showboat. It can be functional. It can be fantastic, but not across the street from my house. And then we've got Haddon Avenue. That's dangerous. You're going to make left-hand turns on Haddon Avenue in front of my house. That's going to back up our traffic. We're going to have our streets full of all kinds of people. Then there's going to be some sort of community center there. We are never going to have a moment's rest. So this was placed down here for a reason. And this firehouse has been across from Borough Hall and from commercial properties. It really doesn't disturb a neighborhood like it's going to disturb us. This is a phenomenally disturbing problem to me. But what am I going to do? Somebody going to buy my house? Do I have to move out? I've invested my whole life here. This to me is horrifying, and I just can't stand for it.
So, first of all, thank
Absolutely,
you.
bottom line, I do not want it there. It's too small of a property. Your property's down on Conley.
So let me
You've got
try to answer you,
750 by 175. This is
Going
like
on 130?
No, on Conley Avenue near Newton Creek, where the fire substation used to be. That's gigantic. You have public service.
Back on the
Parked over there.
The sewer
Yeah.
plant, the sewer plant?
There's a water tower back there, Conley near Newton Creek. It's gigantic.
Okay.
It's gigantic. You have Ebony Green. You have this area where you want to put a parking garage where the public works is going to be Ebony Green. Put it there. Not in my neighborhood. My house is, we're not going to be able to live in our neighborhood with this across the street. It is a neighborhood. And we already have congestion. We have the Collinswood Manor.
Okay,
We have
I
this.
mean, we
It's
get that you're
horrible.
opposed to it, okay,
Horrible.
kind of going over the, I get it.
I
okay.
am going to have to go
You
see
wanna-
a psychiatrist and get drugs.
Well, can I just ask,
It's not right.
is noise a
Who wants to
concern
live
for folks?
across the street
Can
from
I
the
just, well,
firehouse?
I'll take care of it. Is
And
noise a
if I-
concern?
Yes.
And it is with us too. Is the impact of
Put it
trucks
across
and
from your
cars,
house.
I mean,
does
listen,
it matter to
you
you?
made your statement,
Thank
okay,
you.
let us
Put it
respond.
It does to us too. And this is for feedback. So if
I
it's
feel
yes or
like-
no, then
Okay.
that's problematic. But what we really want to hear, and I know especially our architects and stuff want to hear, and our public safety officials, we want your feedback. So, because we know noise can be a concern. Now, mind you, this is a residential area. The lumberyard is here. People live above.
The
apartments.
lumberyard wasn't
They're
here.
here.
I mean, really, I'm gonna have to ask, you spoke, now we'll go, okay, when everybody gets a chance to talk, okay?
Thank you.
So, I don't,
Thank you for listening.
what I'm hoping, yes, okay, against, for, but really what I want to know is specific, what are you concerned about? So that hopefully we can look into that, because this isn't a done deal. There still could be a situation where we'd say, look, we just can't make it work with the neighborhood. But we need specifics and some of that detail will help us with this. I think it's gonna work there. I think it's a great spot. I think the location to reach all parts of the town, to have easy access to main arteries is important. You can put it all the way in the corner, but now you've just tripled the time to get to the other part
There
of town.
was a substation there.
So we want to make sure that we get some of that feedback. And all I'm saying is, we are listening, we're still listening. Please don't look at the people over here as saying, we need this input, but we need it to be input that helps us.
Yes.
To what extent have we explored mutual aid agreements with other towns to reduce the need for these larger services to begin with?
Yes.
To farm out, like have Haddon Township cover our fire?
To share responsibility and then have smaller facilities.
Well, we've explored it a lot, okay? A ton. Probably with police even more than fire, but with fire as well, okay? There's not a lot of interest from other towns to do that, okay? And with respect to fire, you want to talk about it, you're not going to really reduce, you're still going to need the trucks,
Currently, right now, our first alarm assignment, if we have a fire in town, is Collingswood, Westmont, Gloucester City, and Pensacola and Cherry Hill. They're all before we had fire in town, it was all Collingswood responding to that because we had volunteers. So we're already in shared services with them. We share services with vehicle maintenance with Cherry Hill. We send our trucks there to get work on because we don't have a facility to work on our the response and with fire department, you know, is a little bit opposed to the police department. Is we have to remain central. We have to remain within that 4-minute response time anywhere. So down on the west side of Conley Avenue would put us outside of that. The Emily Marine would put us way outside of that. That's going to delay our response times when every minute counts to get to the emergency.
So we have, honestly, yeah. Yes, sure. Yeah, yes, yes.
Okay, I live right behind Emory. My concern, first of all, is the traffic. The fire trucks are going to be coming out onto Haddon Avenue and going wherever they're going to be going, and I'm assuming that the police department is going to be along that back road. And they're going to be coming in and out, traveling along there. With that carport, Sally Port that you're getting, that's a great idea. I agree 100% on that. But that's my one concern is the traffic. The fire department driving off onto Haddon Avenue, that's why I don't like the location. I'm very uncomfortable with the location. It is going to be a lot of noise. And from the plans that I saw tonight, I wasn't aware, I just was made aware, that they're going to have some sort of community center in this building?
No.
Okay, because we're in the community center
Yeah.
right here. We don't need another one.
Yeah, I know, the person, that's not, it is not going to be another community center.
Okay.
It's the reference in the grant stuff was that if there's an ability to team up with, you know, some kind of medical service provider or a domestic violence agency or to do some kind of service within like a training room there, it might be an alternative revenue source.
Yeah,
Okay?
we're talking
But
about
it's-
office space.
It's not to
Yeah,
do this.
and that I would be uncomfortable with as well.
It's not to do this.
I would be
Not a part.
fine, I would be fine with the police department and the fire department, and that's great. I don't want a 3-story building, that's ridiculous. And if you want offices to help domestic violence and other things, that needs to be in a completely different location. It doesn't,
It's not.
it shouldn't even be in that building.
Let me just on the 3rd story, that option, so they're just in essence like playing with designs, okay?
Yeah.
And that 3rd floor, you can't really tell from the way that looks, but it's kind of the way the lumberyard is, that the 3rd floor of it is set back, okay? It's not entire, so it's set back, so that basically from the street, you're gonna have a hard time seeing.
The example is.
But I got you.
And also the
third
parking,
three-story
I
mansion.
don't see where you're going to fit everybody parking.
really.
I don't believe that is going to fit. I saw the plans, I don't believe it. And question that I have, is there any other location that we've looked at?
Yeah, we've looked at a lot of locations.
What other
None-
locations?
None get, well, all the ones Emmy mentioned are like the one on the sewer plant, you know,
It's too
put you
far
in,
out.
well, it's too far out. It puts you in the middle of a even more densely populated neighborhood, okay? It's not like putting it in a remote place where there's nobody living there. Anywhere you go in this town, there's people living there, okay? So we looked over there. We've been exploring Emily Marine with respect to doing something out there, which is the property on Route 130.
Right.
Right? But that's too far for fire, okay?
So if-
Because remember, ambulances are responding from here too, okay? And probably even as bad as that, the fire, what's your stat about every 20 seconds delay is what?
Every 30 seconds, 45 seconds, fire doubling inside.
Yeah,
So do they need to be together, like this whole?
They don't
group?
need to be together.
Okay.
It's more efficient and cheaper if they're together. Okay? There's economies that you get on the sharing of space.
Okay.
And I'll just tell you, it's a crazy, unique thing that police and fire departments even consider to be together.
Well, they should.
Usually, it's Hatfields and McCoys,
Well,
okay?
we work together. in
We're not,
Ridgewood.
you know.
And a lot of, remember, emergency management is a huge area. And, you know, we had the straight line storm almost a year ago to see fire and police and how they had to coordinate. And if you saw them in the tiny little room where they were trying to do it, you would have been amazed that anything got done. So there's fire issues, there's police issues, and then there's also just the emergency management and larger things which require coordination.
You got it, we'll go around, yes.
I don't live across from the fire station, so I'm not prejudiced, but I do know that Main Avenue and that Wallace Street, they are very, very tight. And I was really surprised that the design looks like, because they're using those angle spaces, it looks like you would enter from Haddon Avenue, that's fine, but I thought any design you would also exit from Haddon Avenue. Because if you're planning on exiting on that Wallace Avenue, which is, it's small, and there's a parking lot there, people are coming in and out, there's people backing out of parking spaces, and then to get on Zane, that's also really tight. So to have an exit or entrance on any one of those streets is probably going to be very difficult. You're going to have to like reorganize that whole thing, and you don't own it, so how are you going to do that?
You got it, and listen, I'm not gonna, don't take it, we don't respond to every one of your comments. They're
taking it down.
It goes here, okay? They're like listening and hearing what it is.
Well, there's a building, you know.
Hang on one sec, hang on, relax, we're gonna get to everybody, okay? It's like fifth grade in here, we're gonna get to everybody, I promise.
If you were coming in and out on Haddon, you would probably be okay, but using those back streets, oh, that would be a disaster.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir?
Yeah, hi, how are you? Good evening, everybody. I live in Summer Street. So I live right there by the speed line, and I walk the dog every day to Knights Park. And I see what's happening now. Some of the employees from the residency, the nursing home residency, are using some of the parking spots from the condominiums, the buildings. So I see a lot of cars now, so my answer is this.
Sure, well, tell you what, let instead of doing like, when he
Or
gets time,
or
or keep what he has to say, okay?
Can you hear me? Was that it?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's fine, you said no.
I live right on Summerfield, next to the West Summerfield, by the Patco speed line, great neighbors, good neighborhood. I walk by the parking lots, the empty lots, the proposed plan, and the pretty cute house with the big locust trees. Are we gonna keep the trees? But I see.
John's not here, so we don't know.
I see some of the employees of the nursing home are now using the parking spots of the apartments, the dwellings, and that's been a little tip.
Okay.
So I see it because I walk the dog every day, and then also you have the cars that go to, coming from Knights Park, Haddon Avenue. I'm just trying to visualize. I'm for, by the way.
You're all in.
Fire.
You got
was
it.
a police officer for 27 years. I worked as an airline flight attendant for 30 years. So I know about scenarios and doing all that. So kudos to you. But I see the traffic, I'm trying to visualize.
Okay.
I just can't see not having traffic there, a problem with traffic.
Okay. You got it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I had a question. Using your analogy of the car thing,
Yes.
take off the car.
This is a bad analogy, go ahead.
Well, my question is, what if you need a washing machine after you bought the second car? It seems to me that you're committing all of our anticipated funds to this one project. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You already admitted or said that between 2008 and 2013, that you had to lay off people, you had to let the buildings go, and now that things are better, you first went back to obviously doing the right thing, employing the right people. But my concern is, this seems to be a short-range 10-year view, as opposed to maybe, as you say, and the gentleman says, a 20 or 30 or 40-year view of what's going to happen. We're taking most of the revenue that you already have pre-built in, whether you use it on the annual budget or you use it for this other thing. You've already committed most of that by what I've heard. So the question is, after that point, what do you do?
Sure. So the additional revenue I'm talking about, no, we haven't committed any of it. Okay. What we've committed it to is for infrastructure. okay? But not a specific project, okay? So the,
Can I interrupt a second? By the way, you don't hear a siren like you hear in Hattie Township, letting you know that there's an emergency. That's them finding out that there's something. So I just wanted to point that out because I know we hear the Hattie Township alarm and we remember it from our youth. That's it. So I'm sorry.
so there are revenues, there will be additional revenues that are available for us to dedicate to this, okay? If all goes well. And the world could end tomorrow, something, you know, I can't predict it, also can't plan that. I can tell you that the worst case, it really is a 30-year plan, okay? For financing, because over those first 10, I believe that we're going to have additional revenues that can pay down a substantial part of this debt. But whatever there is that's left at the end of that period would be permanently financed over a term of 20 years. Okay? So if it's 15 million bucks, which I don't think, you know, that's high even for the ballparks we've done so far. And we don't pay any of it down for the next 10, we refinance that at 15. Even under our current debt, which we have paid down like 9-10 million in the last 10 years, okay? That still gives us plenty of capacity for the washing machine and everything else we need, okay? And just one more thing. This year's budget, okay, we've been earmarking money in that budget to do heavy-duty infrastructure. Like, we're out of our current budget, we've dedicated $1 million this year to roadway improvements. Okay? Next year, if things, you know, things are okay, we will have roughly that amount again. Okay? That we can dedicate, instead of knocking everybody's taxes back $5, we've been using it to do repairs and infrastructure improvements. Our sewer lines in different spots need some work. So we're focusing to get infrastructure repair with that money and not use it to offset our budget, because the next year anything can happen and boom, now we got to go hit everybody with a big increase. Okay? Yeah.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
About how the projects that the borough has been exploring that might have grant funding opportunities are not about like refitting this big community space or anything. And I apologize if I gave the wrong impression. I was trying to condense a bunch of information as quickly as possible because I know everyone's time is really valuable. But there are individuals like county employees, for example, who are coming to the existing police and fire stations to provide services that if we were able to just earmark them a space, then over the long term, that other agency that's not the borough of Collingswood would be responsible for paying rent to the borough for that space, just like right now the borough is paying the volunteer fire departments for occupying their space. So the idea is to think through all of those options and say, all right, what's already happening, who's already in our spaces, and how can we build those partnerships to make sure that over the long term, we're not taking on a penny more than we have to.
Yes,
What's the plan for the ongoing maintenance and upkeep of the new facilities, make sure to get to the rundown state of the current facilities right now?
It'll be to maintain. I don't know what you.
Correct. We have been doing it for many years, and we don't have those type of issues.
Yeah, I mean, this is in bad shape. Okay, it's 70 years old.
But do you have a plan in place for
Well, we
the
don't-
facility to have like ongoing regular maintenance and upkeep so it doesn't become so far down?
We will. We haven't like gotten to the point of like saying this is the building. Okay, but yeah, we will. Hang on one second. There were some hands. Yes, sir. Yes.
Actually, two questions that are kind of linked. I do have a concern about street parking. Don't get me wrong, I'm 150 feet from the site.
No. We want to hear what the thoughts are.
Yeah. 150 feet from the site, I have zero issue with it. My concern is street level parking because, just as an example, if you go down to the pool, there are signs that say no parking between June and September. Well, drive by there on Saturday. You know, there's 20 cars in a 5-car spot. My second question, and I'm rarely the smartest guy in the room, so I want to know why this wasn't an option. Why was there no option of an underground space to create the sally port that the police need and police and fire employee parking that is, you know, completely hidden and off-site?
So the parking we hear is an issue. That's for the team to like start figuring out, making sure we're going to have enough. Okay, I get that. I can give you just my own two reasons why no underground. One is it's crazy expensive, okay? Two is we did it here at the lumberyard, like the buildings here, both of these buildings have underground parking. All kinds of water issues, special pumps had to be created to like pump the water out. So we're just not in a really great area to just like, I mean, everybody in town's got a sump pump that's running 24/7, right? We're just not in a good area to do that underground, okay? So that's really it, okay? Yes, yes, yes.
So we live on Hillcrest, right? There. And I gotta say, we're also concerned about the noise and the traffic.
Understood.
Zane has parking on both sides. It's already very narrow to go through there, especially if somebody double parks, for instance. So I think that's gonna be a problem. The other thing is, I think it's a very sleepy kind of part of town, and I think it's gonna change the character of that part of town. So to have something that, urban and municipal there, we don't even have restaurants down there. So, and I'm concerned it's going to change our property values, like I said. So
With all the noise, that's it, we're screwed.
Okay, so our concerns were the parking, the noise and parking of the traffic. She's concerned property values are going to drop. It's a sleepy area of town, doesn't really have restaurants, doesn't have a lot of activity, and then this will all change the neighborhood.
It's very quiet at night.
I understand.
We have
Yes.
quiet between.
Yes, we understand. And let everybody else know. Yes.
Two things. What was your first timing? And two, I may have missed something, but you already own that property. It looked like you were taking some buildings down.
Yes, we do. The seller took the buildings down.
Contemplated buying space somewhere else, somebody willing to sell?
Listen, yes, we have. We looked at all different options in all different places. There's not, couple factors with it. Wherever you go and tell me where there's another site, it's in a neighborhood. Okay, it's in a neighborhood. Wherever you go, it's in a neighborhood. So we don't fix that. Okay. There are issues with respect, like you're talking about traffic and things like that. We're concerned with that traffic piece of it. One of the other related is we're concerned about fire trucks getting and ambulances getting out in a timely manner to go respond to calls. Okay, this whole situation that what we do with, which has been done forever, with K-turns to go, really not good. So we have looked at a ton of spots. We explored doing the police station at the VOA building on Harrison Ave. We've done workups of that. We have done a bunch of spots to go look and see if it works. In the objection, I understand the neighborhood is concerned with the noise, traffic, the impact it's going to have. With all of that, I just tell you, there is nowhere that we put this facility that does not have a neighborhood.
And just a bit of history on that particular piece of land is actually our fire chief who sort of let us know that this piece of land came on the market and said, this may work out really well for our needs for fire and police. And at that point, we realized that it's very rare that a piece of land that large will come up for sale. And the decision was made, we need to purchase it and then go through the exercise to figure out if it's workable. Because if not, and people are catch wind and we're looking for it, they buy it and sell it to us for $1 million, what we got for $450,000. And so there was a decision made, calculated, and if it didn't work or it doesn't work, we sell it and redevelop it. So something's going to go there at some point.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to, hi, I'm Cass, and I work for the borough too. And Chief, if you don't mind, would you speak a little bit to noise and some of like the new policies they have with sirens? Because I think that some people have not heard about, they think of the sirens going, but you informed a lot of people that that's not always the case.
Yeah, so a few years ago, we had the siren on top of Borough Hall, there's a siren on Mark Levy, and there's a siren over on Conley Avenue on the water tower. We turned all those off because it disrupts the neighborhood, it's very loud. Obviously on a school building, an elementary school building in the middle of the day with disrupt classrooms. We have all kinds of technology out there that alerts us that we have a call. So you heard their phones go off, 2 seconds later their pagers went off, so we have those backups in place now. where we don't need that loud siren blaring, where you still hear in Westmont, Oakland, Audubon, and Haddonfield. Sometimes you would think it would be in Collins, but you hear that, it's so loud, it's just the way the wind's blowing. As far as us leaving the station at that location, we wouldn't be fighting stop traffic in front of our building and going into a blind intersection. We'd be coming out onto a clear part of Haddon Avenue, as far as roadway is concerned. And it's not a major intersection, so there's not a lot of congestion down there. It's already a main thoroughfare for every ambulance that goes to the city. So you already have that emergency traffic going down that road by that location. And our policy would be that we wouldn't turn on the lights and the sirens during certain hours or the sirens at all until we made that turn going in either direction down Haddon Ave. We wouldn't be utilizing the side streets to get to certain sections of town unless the call was in that general specific neighborhood.
So to add to that, so I think it's important to note, they did get a call this evening. They left the firehouse and you didn't hear the siren. So we're directly next to it, and the response protocols are already in place that they're not using the sirens until they're outside getting happen. So.
And that wasn't just for tonight. That makes me think, why did I think of that? But yeah.
Now, the former location of the Siemens lumber yard where you're wanting to develop, that's being taken off the tax rolls, correct?
What, I'm sorry, which property? The 434? Where we're looking at? Yes, yes,
That's being taken off the tax roll.
yes.
So what replaces that lost revenue?
Well, I can get you a number, but it ain't a lot, okay? It's been empty for a long time. It's not a lot. Tax appeals have knocked that number down. It's not any kind of major impact on us.
Is there any contaminants that you cleaning up the?
It'll all,
It's
it's
gotta
getting
clean
stage one,
every-
all that stuff's getting done. Yep. We get that before we close, or is that in process?
Phase one. We haven't closed yet.
Yeah, we got it's not closed. That's
But it's
right. They have to get it cleaned.
contingent on demolition and a clean bill when we receive the property.
Okay, yes.
Senator Rossi, East Palmer Avenue, I am concerned about additional through traffic down the road from Haddon Avenue down to like South Park. But my question was more specifically, is there a plan to put maybe an additional traffic light there at Zane and Haddon? What is that? Because
Listen,
because right now there's one at Browning, so I wasn't
yes,
sure.
I hear you, but listen, just know where we're at in this. We're, to try to keep everybody involved, we're kind of sharing you in the process here. So we've literally gone through like, well, what about this shape? What about that shape? How about that way? What about this way? And we're at a point where we have, well, this one kind of works, like where do we think we are? We haven't gotten into what's the traffic impact? So there are improvements that have to be made. What's that, how is all that all changed, okay? So we'll get to that. I want to hear what those issues are so that we make sure we can take it into account. But we don't have a parking. We don't have a hard parking plan. We don't have a hard traffic plan. We're not there yet. We're just not there yet. Okay, hang on one second.
It being closer to where we have our pool, where we have the river, because we have emergencies that happen out on the river before people do boating and the additional events that happen down the river. So I am in favor of those facilities moving closer to where they're needed. So.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we'll work this out. Yep, go ahead. No, go ahead. Well, go ahead.
My name's Linda, I'm on West Summerfield Avenue, and I see those 3 trees every morning. And I just want to say, try and save the trees. I do look at them, they're between, of course, blocking the proposed site. So the trees are important.
Okay.
And I've seen different sketches that obliterate them, so I'm very concerned.
Don't pay attention to any of that. There's no landscaping with any of this.
And landscaping is probably part of our plan.
Yeah.
Find ways to use that to, beautify and to minimize, intrusion.
Yeah, thank you. And nursing, you heard that Wallace Avenue is pretty much the Wild West of parking from the untenanted homes and from the apartment complex. So, and then people choose to park on the actual former grass instead of going into the United Methodist homes.
That'll likely change.
I saw employees even today, I see them all the time, they choose to park on Wallace Avenue in the grass instead of using their own employee lot This is the problem.
That's that too. The Methodist Home is going through a big construction project now, so it's bringing a lot of extra traffic and parking in that area. They told us.
For construction.
For fire side.
For their construction.
It's been longer than that.
I'm sure, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. You stated this is not a done deal, but you have presented this like this is a done deal, so.
Well, I said, I think it's gonna work there, but if and I
This
said,
is not a done deal.
okay, if we're gonna hold me to one thing but not another thing, then I can say that I'm 100%.
It's a done deal or it's not a done deal, because I think this is.
We're working to advance the project.
We wanted to,
Yeah.
we wanted to work there, and we wanted to work for.
Well, I don't know what that means,
in
a
the
done
neighborhood.
deal. I have to be able to pay for it. I don't know what the cost of it is yet. I don't know what the cost of it is yet, okay? We've got, I mean, there's still things to get done. Parking issues, traffic issues, all that, there's still things to get
But in
done.
the
We're-
financing of this town, we as a taxpayer, there should assume that this is happening.
At some point, we're gonna have to
We're working
deal
on
with the police and fire, and.
Listen, I can show you the plans that we had, that we were working on, of a new police station for out here, a new fire station for out here. There were reasons why that doesn't work. And no, I'm just, my point to you is, we've done a lot of work on projects, okay? And then something that happens, either the money's too much, or the motivation's not right, and like, we don't do it. So, when we're cutting a ribbon, that's when it's done.
But you don't want to raise taxes, and it's not gonna be. Everybody voted out spigot, nobody wanted to raise it.
Right.
So how much today is there gonna be and what goes into this is what we're doing.
I think that's what we're trying to do.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's our third. It's our third.
Probably won't be our last.
So you're saying you can't maybe figure out neighborhoods before it's bigger one house? Unless you go to the same place where the police is now.
Yeah, and for traffic, for just traffic alone, that it just does not work. It just does not, yeah. All right?
Thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to say something very brief. I think I fully support because I went on the tour and I saw the inside. Actually, I've seen the inside of the police station before, one time before, and I was involved and they actually pointed out how unsafe, although you have all the different issues we have. We do not live in the same world as we lived in 1982. Okay, we have issues, we have safety issues. You know, as we all know, we have issues. There are, I personally had an issue with fire, and but I was an issue in the kitchen accident. I had 3rd-degree burns in my chest. I was in severe pain. So those minutes to me counted. They really did. And now at that time, the ambulance that came over, we got 2 ambulances, as they pointed out. Okay, here, okay, that they could use. But at the time, they had to go pick me up, took me over the wards, and they did a fantastic job. And I was very grateful for that. By the time I got to wards, though, I was fading and pain. Now, I'm fine now. That was about 10 years ago. But my point is, I live in one of the apartment complexes over there. To me, it matters. I don't care where this complex is, as long as they make it, because this is important to this community. To me, it is to everyone else's safety. We do not live in a fairy tale world anymore. We have to worry about shootings. We have to worry about and in a minute, that could attack this community, these children. I feel very strongly about this. So I'm absolutely.
Thank you. Yes, we'll work around these, yeah. Yes.
Quick question. One of the parking lots that we saw up there, are those primarily intended for the staff work in the building or the public or for both?
We haven't really gotten that far. All it is that this design has this many spaces. And other designs have this many spaces. It's not, we're not at that, it's all. And you can see the one design, I mean, the design with the building with the parking along one side, right? We've been, bounce around, there's a way to do that, to flip it, right? So that the buildings on one side, parking's on the other, there's pros and cons, they're all things like further down the road, to get our input.
And we're not there yet, but I'll tell you that when we're in the planning meeting, we're gonna say, well, I'd really like to designate some spots for people that have business.
Right.
And that, some will be staff and some, that would be my, I think.
There will happen.
And my second question is, we're looking at the options of 2 and 3 floors or stories. I was just wondering about the difference, how much taller would those be potentially than the current Dane Avenue apartments? Just because I think that's something to take into consideration, like not wanting it to go too much taller.
It is, if that's a viable option, like when we all get together again, we'll have that scale. Okay? It's just one, so the advantages of the 2 to 3 are, first off, it's staggered, right, on the curve. But it takes the building and it compresses the building, right, by pushing it up a little bit, which allows you to get more parking. Okay, so it's that balance, like, what do we need, how much, so we're still working. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, because it kind of concerns me. My neighbor lives across the street from where the project. And her lot number was changed without her knowledge, which, changed her lot.
Her house?
Lot number was changed without her knowledge, which is causing a delay in her rebate. And she, her tax lot has been changed.
Right in the back, I absolutely can't do anything to help you, other than to say.
I'm actually, is it
You need
because
to
of the
talk to
project?
Keith, okay, but you need to talk to Keith Hastings to get that square.
Okay.
Surprised
She's
me.
been trying to, she's been
Let's get it
running
fixed.
Yeah, she's been getting a runaround.
Okay.
Nobody told us. I sent in an application in March, and if I hadn't called this week, I don't know, I'd never get the check.
Where do you live?
I mean, who's still hanging out? I live right
Wanna
in
live in
my
a house on
I
Hannah?
live directly across the street from where this is going to be built.
Okay, well, the people talk to, I've never, that's a new one, I've never heard that.
That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, so what else? Did you have something else? Did you have something else? Yes.
My concern is water runoff from this building.
So
The topography is, I'm not going to get that sky under the walls. Where's the water going to go?
So that, again, that's a little bit down the road, okay? If we get closer to what a building shape will be, okay, there then will be calculations done on stormwater runoff, okay? And if there needs to be a new sewer line put in, like it seemed, when we were doing the lumberyard, we had to put in all new infrastructure to handle, okay? To get it, all the rules today are, it's got to all be self-contained, okay? The state DEP rules, it's got to be self-contained. It can't run all day. So that engineering part of it comes, this is more kind of the design, kind of figuring it out. Absolutely.
Yeah, just to really punctuate, we are at such an early stage in this process. All those technical details, that army of logos that you saw, that's all of our engineers. We haven't really brought them into the fold yet because we're just at this high level. But if we live in one of those regulated states, all those details are going to be taken.
We're going to run through some quick, okay, because we're going to wrap this up. Yes.
I live on Culture Avenue, so I'm not too close to the fire station as it is right now. But I'm getting the impression that it's like the fire engines are coming out of the station all day long. And I don't really, hear that much. I live next to the street line, so the street line probably ground up fire engines.
Oh, there's that, yes.
But the thing is that it's, I've gotten used to that. The train, they come by every half hour. I can live with that. But it seems to me that no matter where you live, if you live near Haddon Avenue, you're going to hear the fire engines no matter, it's not like they come out of the station and they're gone. So it's noisy, yes, but it's not a continuous noise. I think this is very, very important for the community, that it's identified, the department have the facilities that they need to provide the security that they provide in this town. Because even within the
The beat up.
Aging, the aging building.
The job that they do is extraordinary. I think it's extraordinary, and if we give better facilities and we, make a sacrifice, all of us, so that they can have these facilities, I think that, the community is going to benefit. So it's a win-win situation for the neighborhoods, for the officers themselves, for all of us. And, I really sympathize with the people that live across the street from something like this, but it's very little. This I agree that you can't live under those circumstances.
Okay, Bouncer, yes.
Try to get everyone to one side.
Yes. No. What's our design process is?
Design process is like, typically for a project like that, could be 7 months, and then the construction of the building could be 11 months.
So the design process will go through the rest of what we have left to be like a 7-month process. And construction would be roughly a year. Ballpark. If we settle on it all today.
Let's get everybody one.
Like a year, no, roughly a year. Yeah, roughly a year. Okay. I just want to get into the faces, yes.
I live on the corner opposite end. I don't want to have diesel trucks, fire engines, emergency vehicles, police cars coming into my bedroom windows and attic. I do not want to have the lights of the vehicles going out. So what about the noise of the sirens? These vehicles are heavy and noisy. Anytime they come out, it's going to be loud and make noise. It's going to completely destroy the tenor of the neighborhood. It's a residential, quiet neighborhood. Talk about parking. Garfield at school every afternoon at 3 o'clock. It's lined up with cars, people picking up their kids. So talk about, having to worry about turning into the traffic like that.
Okay.
The bus even, the bus stops the traffic all the way back to the house. Yes, and plus there's, you got the bus stop right in front. Where are you going to put that?
Okay. I don't know. They're all things that we're looking at, okay? This is early in the game. Early in the game.
Our property values.
Okay, I understand. Yes.
One of the earlier iterations of this discussion, there was talk of taking over the doctor's office next door.
Right.
Increase the footprint. How's that fall?
I don't think it's worth, I think they saw millions of dollars with the town interested in buying it, and so we were like, no, never mind. Yeah, we're not going. And we can do this without it, so. If it's ever, no, hang on, yes.
Just quick, court, sorry, we're being included in this.
No. If anything, for a court down the road, that would come if we expand this building. Okay? All right? Yes?
Just a thing about the millions of dollars you were just talking about.
Right.
That's funny, because I spoke with one of the trained nurses in training there, or whatever, and they had to work on her day jobs years ago. And she said the doctors got together and they agreed that if you could just relocate them, the people around.
A lot of money. Yeah, I know, just a lot of money. And listen, nobody here likes the idea of like making this a bigger building. Okay? Okay? I mean, look, relocating the doctor's office, it's so complicated all. It's just, it ain't worth it. The building that we picked up here was for sale, had been empty and an eyesore forever, okay? And it made sense for us. It made sense. Yeah, yes?
I get to see you as better.
I'm sorry?
So I'm going to take part of that. I wasn't going to use doctors.
Okay. Sorry about that. Well, if you'd like to sell it, you can contact us. We didn't
I
want
don't
to.
want to sell it, it's just.
Okay, well, that's my point. That's my point.
The point was, you said, we saw millions of dollars, I didn't see that.
Okay, well, there's another person involved as well.
That's my
Sorry about that.
Please, that's my daughter.
Okay.
And he's my next door neighbor.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I'm not saying he's not.
And we're not- we're not
The
relocating
reason
either.
why I'm not doing anything on those buildings is you just heard him say, I don't want to sell. I think the other fellow, you know, had numbers.
Nobody said we didn't make $500 million for my retirement promise. That's what
Okay,
they ever said.
my apologies. Instead it was, I'm not selling.
He doesn't deserve
And I'll just tell you, in the world of town buying property, usually when people say, I'm not selling, there's a price, okay? There's a number. When the towns are buying, people just think it's, you know, okay. All right, listen, we're gonna wrap it up. It's 9 o'clock. No, we're happy to, we'll, you know, you can email us with questions. We're happy to talk about it, but I think the horse is dead at this moment. And we'll, once we get some more progress and go through this, yeah,
Please turn your chair if you want.
Turn your hat in to Sandra or Sandy, the cold sweater back here. Turn in your homework. Thank you for coming out. Thank you. Have a good night.